Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host, and today we're diving into an exciting and practical topic: best daily routines for learning English in 2025. Whether you're just starting your English journey or looking to take your skills to the next level, having a solid routine can make all the difference. And let's face it, in 2025, with so many tools and distractions, staying consistent is more important than ever.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia, and I'm thrilled to be here with Jason today. Routines are the backbone of success in almost everything, including learning a language like English. Plus, they're not just about hard work, they can also make learning fun and less stressful. We'll be sharing simple, practical routines that anyone can adopt to improve their English skills consistently.
Absolutely, Julia. We've got tips for every part of the day: morning, afternoon, and evening, and even how to use the latest technology to stay ahead. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear plan to make English practice part of your daily life. So, grab a cup of coffee or tea, and let's get started. All right, before we jump into the specifics of daily routines, let's talk about why routines are so important for learning English. Or any skill, really. Julia, what do you think is the biggest advantage of having a routine?
That's a great question, Jason. I think one of the biggest benefits is consistency. When you follow a routine, you're practicing a little bit every day, and that builds momentum. Learning English isn't about cramming all at once. It's about steady, consistent effort over time.
Exactly. Language learning is like planting a tree. You can't expect it to grow overnight, but if you water it every day, you'll see progress. Routines give you that structure. You don't have to wonder, what should I do today? Because it's already planned. Plus, it saves time and mental energy.
Totally agree. Another important point is that routines help reduce stress. When you have a plan, you're less likely to feel overwhelmed. For example, if you know that every morning you'll spend 15 minutes learning new vocabulary, it becomes a habit. You don't have to fight with yourself to get started. It's automatic.
Yes, and I think routines also build confidence. As you stick to your routine, you start to see improvement, and that motivates you to keep going. It's like a positive feedback loop. Have you ever noticed, Julia, that learners with routines tend to feel more in control of their progress?
Absolutely, Jason. They're not just waiting for motivation to strike. They're creating opportunities to improve every day. And let's not forget, routines make it easier to track your progress. For instance, if you're practicing speaking for 10 minutes daily, you'll notice over time how much more fluent and confident you've become.
Such a great point. And in 2025, there are so many tools to help you stay consistent, like apps that remind you of your daily goals or trackers that show your streaks. We'll talk more about those later in the episode, but the bottom line is this: routines are your best friend if you want to learn English effectively.
Exactly. And remember, your routine doesn't have to be perfect. Start small, adjust as you go, and make it work for you. The key is to show up every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Consistency beats intensity any day.
Couldn't agree more, Julia. So, now that we understand why routines matter, let's dive into what a good daily routine looks like, starting with your mornings. All right, let's start with mornings. Mornings are such a powerful time to set the tone for your day, and they can be incredibly productive for learning English. Julia, what do you think is the first thing English learners should do in the morning?
Well, Jason, I always recommend starting with something simple but effective, like listening to a short English podcast or an audio lesson while getting ready. It's a great way to wake up your brain and get into the flow of English without too much effort.
That's a fantastic idea. Podcasts are so convenient. You can listen while brushing your teeth, making breakfast, or even during a quick workout. And since it's 2025, there are so many personalized options that match your level and interests. What else can learners do in the morning?
Another great habit is to spend 5 to 10 minutes reviewing vocabulary. You can use flashcards, apps like Anki, or even just a notebook where you write down new words and phrases. Reviewing in the morning helps reinforce what you've learned and keeps it fresh in your mind.
That's so true. And speaking of notebooks, journaling is another powerful morning routine. Writing a few sentences about your plans for the day, how you're feeling, or even your goals in English can improve both your writing and thinking skills. What do you think about that, Julia?
I love that idea. Journaling is great because it's personal and you're more likely to stick with it. Plus, it gives you a chance to use the new words or phrases you've been learning. And here's another fun tip. Write down a positive affirmation in English. For example, I'm becoming more fluent every day. It boosts your confidence.
Absolutely. Positive affirmations are so underrated. Another quick morning routine I'd suggest is watching a short English video, like a motivational speech or a news clip. It doesn't have to be long, just 5 minutes to expose yourself to natural English accents and intonation.
Yes, and the best part is that mornings are usually distraction-free, so it's easier to focus. But here's an important reminder. Don't overload yourself. Choose 1 or 2 activities that fit into your morning schedule. Quality over quantity.
Great advice, Julia. So, to sum up, listen to something in English, review vocabulary, try journaling, or watch a short video. Even spending just 15 to 20 minutes on these activities can make a big difference in your learning journey. And now, let's talk about how to stay consistent during the middle of the day. So, let's move on to the middle of the day. Mornings are great for setting the tone, but midday routines are just as important to keep the momentum going. Julia, what's one simple thing English learners can do during the day to stay consistent?
Midday is a perfect time to use short, focused activities. For example, if you have a lunch break, you can dedicate 10 to 15 minutes to practicing with a language app like Duolingo, Memrise, or Babbel. These apps are designed for quick, engaging learning, and they're super easy to fit into a busy schedule.
That's a great suggestion, and I'd add that this is also a great time to work on listening skills. You can listen to an English podcast or audiobook while eating lunch or commuting. It doesn't feel like studying, but you're still learning.
Exactly, Jason. And for those who want to practice speaking, here's a fun idea. Talk to yourself in English about what you're doing or thinking. For instance, while walking, you can describe your surroundings in English or even plan your tasks for the day out loud.
Yes, speaking to yourself is such an underrated tip. It's low pressure and helps you get comfortable with forming sentences. And if you have a little more time, you could even record yourself speaking and then listen back to identify areas for improvement.
That's a fantastic idea. And for learners who might feel shy, practicing shadowing is another midday activity. Find a short video or audio clip in English, pause after each sentence, and repeat it. This improves pronunciation and fluency, and you can do it anywhere, even in a quiet corner at work or school.
Definitely. And for those who enjoy reading, carrying a small English book, article, or even saving online blog posts to read during breaks can be incredibly productive. Just 10 minutes of reading can expose you to new vocabulary and sentence structures.
I love that. And let's not forget using technology. In 2025, there are so many tools that can fit into your day, like AI chatbots to practice conversations or interactive quizzes that adapt to your level. It's about finding what works best for you.
Great point, Julia. The key here is flexibility. Midday routines don't have to be long or complicated. It's all about using those small pockets of time wisely. And if you can combine learning with something you already do, like commuting or eating lunch, it becomes even easier.
Absolutely. The goal is to stay engaged with the language throughout the day. Consistency is more important than intensity, so even a few minutes can make a big difference. Now, let's talk about how to end the day strong with some effective evening routines.
All right, we've covered mornings and middays. Now let's talk about evenings, a great time to wind down while reinforcing everything you've learned throughout the day. Julia, what's a good way to start an evening routine for English learners?
Evenings are perfect for reflection, Jason. One of the best habits is to review what you've learned during the day. You can go over new vocabulary, phrases, or grammar points. Spend 5 to 10 minutes revisiting your notes or practicing flashcards to strengthen your memory.
That's such a simple yet powerful tip. Reflecting helps move information from short-term to long-term memory. And if you're not a fan of writing, you can use voice notes. Record yourself summarizing your day in English. It's like journaling, but spoken.
I love that idea. Speaking of journaling, evenings are also great for writing. You can write a few sentences about your day, focusing on using the new words or expressions you learned. For example, write about something you accomplished or how you felt. It's a great way to practice writing naturally.
Absolutely. And another evening routine I recommend is reading. Spend 15 to 20 minutes reading something you enjoy in English, like a novel, a blog, or even an article online. Reading before bed not only improves your language skills, but also helps you relax.
Yes, and if you enjoy watching videos, evenings are a great time to watch an English TV show, a movie, or YouTube videos. Turn on the subtitles in English if needed. It helps with listening and comprehension. Just make sure it's something you genuinely enjoy so it doesn't feel like a chore.
Exactly. And here's another idea. Spend a few minutes planning for the next day. Write down your English learning goals for tomorrow. Maybe you'll practice speaking for 10 minutes, learn 5 new words, or listen to a podcast during breakfast. Having a plan keeps you on track.
Great point, Jason. And let's not forget relaxation. Learning English can be tiring, so it's important to unwind. Try meditation or breathing exercises in English. There are apps and guided audio sessions that help you relax while still practicing listening skills.
That's so true, Julia. The key to an effective evening routine is to focus on reflection, light practice, and preparation for the next day. It's not about cramming. It's about reinforcing what you've learned and setting yourself up for success tomorrow.
Exactly. And remember, routines should feel enjoyable and achievable. Start small, and as these habits become part of your lifestyle, you'll see steady growth in your English skills.
Well said, Julia. So now we've covered morning, midday, and evening routines. Before we wrap up, let's summarize the key takeaways and offer some final advice to our listeners. All right, Julia, now let's talk about how technology in 2025 has completely transformed the way we learn English. There are so many tools and resources out there now, and using them effectively can really accelerate your progress. What's one piece of technology you think every English learner should use?
Great question, Jason. One tool that's a game changer is AI-powered language apps. Apps like Duolingo, Babbel, or newer ones now offer personalized learning plans that adapt to your level and pace. They even include speech recognition to help you improve your pronunciation.
That's so true. And the feedback from these apps is immediate, which is great for beginners and advanced learners alike. Another amazing tool is AI chatbots. Julia, have you seen how advanced they've become? You can have full conversations with them, and they'll correct your grammar and suggest better ways to phrase things.
Absolutely, Jason. AI chatbots are like having a personal tutor available 24/7. And let's not forget virtual reality, VR. There are VR apps that immerse you in an English-speaking environment, like a coffee shop or a travel setting. You can practice conversations as if you're really there.
Wow! VR is such a cool way to learn. It's like bringing the real world to your living room. And speaking of immersion, streaming platforms are another fantastic resource. Watching shows and movies in English with subtitles is a fun way to learn, especially when paired with tools like language learning extensions that let you pause and save new words.
Yes, streaming platforms are so versatile, and for learners who prefer interactive experiences, online learning platforms like Coursera, Udemy, or even YouTube offer structured courses and tutorials in English. Some are even taught by native speakers, covering everything from grammar to business communication.
Great point! Another thing to explore is podcasts. In 2025, there are specialized podcasts for every skill level and interest. For instance, learners can tune in to podcasts that focus on conversational English, news, or storytelling. And the best part? You can listen on the go.
Exactly. And let's not forget smart devices. Many people have smart speakers like Alexa or Google Assistant. You can use them to practice speaking, set English vocabulary reminders, or even play English quizzes. It's like having a study buddy in your home.
Such a clever idea, Julia. And learners can also make use of social media. Following English content creators on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter exposes you to casual, everyday English. You can also join online communities to connect with other learners and native speakers.
That's so true. Social media can be a great motivator when used wisely. Lastly, let's talk about one of the most advanced tools, AI translation apps. They're now so accurate that you can translate sentences and get context-based explanations, making it easier to understand difficult texts or expressions.
Yes, AI translation apps have come a long way. But here's a reminder to our listeners. While technology is incredibly helpful, it works best when combined with consistent practice. Think of it as a support system, not a replacement for real effort.
Exactly. Use technology as a tool to make learning more fun, accessible, and effective. And don't forget to experiment to find what works best for you. The possibilities in 2025 are endless.
Well said, Julia. Now that we've covered how to use technology, let's move on to our final section, how to stay motivated and committed to your daily routines. We're almost at the end of today's podcast, but before we wrap up, let's address some common questions and concerns English learners have. Julia, one question I hear a lot is, what if I don't have enough time to follow a routine? What would you say to that?
That's a great question, Jason, and it's a common concern. My advice is to start small. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day can make a big difference. Focus on one activity, like listening to a podcast or practicing vocabulary, and build from there. It's about quality, not quantity.
Absolutely. Small, consistent efforts add up over time. Another question we get is, I feel stuck because I don't have anyone to practice speaking with. How can I improve my speaking skills on my own?
That's a tough one, but there are ways to overcome it. One option is shadowing. Listen to a native speaker and repeat after them. It helps with pronunciation and fluency. You can also record yourself speaking and play it back to identify areas for improvement.
Great tips, Julia. And let's not forget technology, like AI chatbots or language exchange platforms where you can find speaking partners online. It's easier than ever to connect with people from all over the world.
Exactly. Another concern I hear is, what if I keep forgetting what I've learned? That can be frustrating, but it's normal. The key is regular review. Use flashcards, revisit old notes, or test yourself weekly. Spaced repetition is an effective technique for long-term retention.
Great advice. Here's another one. I feel overwhelmed with so many resources and don't know where to start. What's your advice for that?
I'd suggest picking one or two resources that suit your learning style. For example, if you enjoy listening, start with podcasts or audiobooks. If you prefer interactive learning, use an app. Don't try to use everything at once. It's better to master a few tools than dabble in too many.
That's such a good point. Simplifying your approach can reduce stress and help you stay focused. Lastly, learners often ask, how do I stay motivated when I don't see quick progress?
That's such a relatable concern, Jason. I'd say celebrate small wins. Maybe you understood a full sentence in a movie or used a new word correctly. Those are signs of progress. Also, remind yourself why you're learning English. Keeping your goals in mind can reignite your motivation.
That's excellent advice, Julia. Progress might feel slow, but every little step counts. Thank you for addressing these common concerns. Hopefully, our listeners feel reassured and ready to tackle their learning journey.
Yes, and remember, everyone's learning journey is unique. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the process.
All right, let's move on to wrap up with some final thoughts and a call to action for our listeners. All right, Julia, we've had such a productive discussion today about the best daily routines for learning English in 2025. From morning habits to leveraging technology and addressing common concerns, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yes, Jason, and I hope our listeners feel inspired to take these tips and create routines that work for them. Remember, the key to learning English is consistency and enjoying the journey.
Absolutely! To all our listeners, start small. Pick one or two habits from today's discussion and try them out. You don't have to implement everything at once. Progress is better than perfection.
And don't forget to reflect on your progress. Celebrate the little milestones, whether it's learning a new phrase, finishing a podcast episode, or holding a short conversation in English. Every step counts.
Exactly. And if you found today's episode helpful, make sure to subscribe to our channel, Easy English Talk, and give this video a like. Share it with your friends or anyone who's learning English. It might be just what they need to stay motivated.
Also, let us know in the comments what your daily routine looks like or which tip you're excited to try. We'd love to hear from you and support you on your learning journey.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and remember, learning English is a marathon, not a sprint. We'll see you next time for another episode of the English Learning Podcast. Until then, happy learning.
Take care, everyone, and keep striving toward your goals. Bye for now.